So I called a tint shop the other day and an AI bot answered and I was like mind blown. And this is the first time I've spoken to an AI receptionist selling window tint. But what's funny is I noticed the AI bot sells the exact same way that most tint shop owners sell window tint, which is the same basic sales process that doesn't create any pain or build any value in getting the service. And sure, like, what do I even mean by creating pain and building value? I'll tell you, but first, let me finish my story. Now, when I called this shop, I heard the bot pick up. I was super excited to see how the bot would actually do, but I could tell that it was an AI bot right away because its responses were like very delayed. And the thing is, because I knew it wasn't an actual human, it was so easy to just hang up on them. Like there was no like incentive to keep staying on the call. But back to the way the AI bot sold, and that's actually the problem, and that's why I'm recording this video. The problem about these AI bots that people have started using, they sell window tint the same exact way most of you tint shop owners do. So eventually, a competitor of yours down the street will soon have one. And once they have one, it will respond to their leads 24/7 and pick up all of their calls no matter what time. The fact that the owner is installing, he's on another call, maybe he's busy, it doesn't apply because the AI bot will answer every call. AKA, they will answer and get back to their leads faster than you do. It's going to be answering calls ASAP, quoting everyone left, right, and center so that no leads are actually missed. And I'm not going to get into the legality of AI bots calling leads. It's another story. But what I do want to talk about is because you sell in the same basic way without an actual sales process or sales script, that means if a competitor has a bot doing the same thing, they will end up booking more jobs than you. And that's the problem. So what do you do instead? What do you do to prepare yourself for this AI revolution that's coming? If you're going to think I'm here to pitch you like an AI bot, that's not what I'm going to do. In fact, if you want an AI bot yourself, you can find someone selling it online for maybe like $200 a month. I don't know. But if you do get an AI bot, you will just be doing the same thing as your competitor. Now you're back to competing on price, which you don't want to compete on. Instead, you need to actually become a great salesperson, like an actual salesperson. Someone who asks the right questions when someone calls looking for window tint, someone who's able to build rapport, hold a conversation, make them laugh, most importantly, handle objections when the leads give you objections. So that means you need to stop being an order taker. Now, an order taker is like someone who works at a drive-thru. Think about when you go through a drive-thru, you order something, it's just like, what do you want? Okay, this, yes, no, sure. It's going to be $15. And let's say, for like argument's sake, let's say you change your mind about wanting the McDonald's or whatever it is you're getting. What are they going to do? They're not going to try and convince you to get the actual like food, right? They'll just say, okay, have a nice day, whatever. Now think about this for a second. How similar is that to your current sales process? Probably not very different. And another example, and I want you to honestly tell me how different this is to your current sales process. Now be honest here. So a lead calls you, you pick up the phone with your greeting, they ask you for a quote, you say, well, what's the year, make, and model? They tell you the year, make, and model. You give them all of your packages. Let's say, oh, for carbon it's going to be $300, for basic ceramic it's $450, for high-end ceramic it's $650. And let's say you even explain like, oh, ceramic is this much heat rejection, this. They say, okay, thanks. You say thanks. They hang up, you hang up. How similar is this to what you're actually facing? And now you not only lost a lead, if you're spending money on ads, you just wasted your money, you also wasted your time, and you let your competition, which might be cheaper, get the job. So how similar is that to your sales process? Like I want you to ask yourself, but also ask yourself, have you ever handled an objection? Because based on the hundreds of tint shops that I've worked with, less than 10% of them have ever handled an objection or a concern. Which means that less than 10% have tried to book people in when they say, okay, I'm going to shop around, or like, thank you, or, let me think about it, or let me talk to the wife and get back to you, which by the way, they will not get back to you. And that's crazy that it's less than 10%, by the way. So if you want to build a great tint shop, you need to do better. And here's how you do it. So remember at the start, I said, you need to create pain, you need to build value. What does that even mean? Well, to create pain, you need to find out why they want the tint and get them to relive that experience of theirs in their mind. And also you need to build value. You need to get the customer to understand why your service is better than the cheaper competition, because 90% of the time they are speaking to the cheaper competition. And also a very, very important thing that I learned from one of my sales trainers is if you can make them laugh, your chances of selling them is way, way higher because they will actually like you more. Laughing, releases dopamine, all of that stuff. You might have heard it before, but that helps a lot. And the more you can make them laugh, the more likely they are to go with you. So there's 4 parts to my sales process when selling window tint. So the first part is, why do they actually want the tint? Let's call it why tint and just ignore my writing. The second part is vehicle information, or just basic information you need, such as like, is there any, what's the year, make, and model? Like, is there any tint on it right now? I classify that as like vehicle information. The third part is pre-handling their objections. So pre-handle objections, and that's, I don't know what that is. Pre-handle objections. The third thing is the pitch. Now, most people, if you're an order taker, whatever you are, most people spend the most time on this, but this is actually the least important thing. And these three, actually this and then this one is the most important. Now, why tint? Let's just go through these one by one. The first thing you want to know or find out is, why do they actually want the tint? Okay, so first of all, the question is like, well, do they want it for privacy? Do they want it for heat? That's sort of like a basic answer for why they actually want the tint. And you, by the way, you ask this, or you get this answer by just saying, oh yeah, what was it that you're actually wanting or needing the tint for? Super simple question. Let's say they don't understand, or they give you a dumb answer like, oh, I want it for my Audi A4. Then you say, oh yeah, I apologize. What I meant more was like, what's actually the main reason behind you wanting the tint? Just so I can recommend the right option. Okay, the just so I can recommend the right option makes it so that this is why I'm asking you the question. It's like, makes sense, so I can help you recommend the right option. So first thing, why tint is like privacy or for the heat. And this is actually so that you can recommend the right option for them. Okay, but it doesn't just stop there, because most people, they would stop over there. We do not want to be like most people. We want to be the best tint salesman ever and grow the biggest tint business. So the second thing, which is very important, that a sales trainer taught me, is ask them about their experience. Okay, so we want to get them, we want to get them to relive their experience. So relive experience. What do I mean by this? Whenever you buy something yourself, or if someone buys something, and let's talk about window tint. Whenever someone wants to get window tint or makes the decision to reach out to you, whether that's to give you a call, give a window tint shop a call, go to their website, submit a form, see their ad, and stop and click, that always comes down to some experience. So what I mean is, like, it comes down to that one point where they maybe sat in their car, they got burnt by the dash, it was too hot, or they were at a stoplight, maybe they were driving their car to the stoplight and someone kept staring. That is the moment that in their mind they made the decision, okay, now I'm going to reach out to the shop. And it might not just be one moment, by the way, it might be multiple moments, but the last one is basically the experience of them actually reaching out to the shop. Now, if you think about it, if we go back to that point of that experience, at that point, hypothetically, if they like reached out to you and you called them within like 60 seconds at that single point, their chance of getting the tint and booking and giving you a deposit at that point would be so high, because at that point, their pain is very high, right? And this is how we build pain. Because chances are that experience is gone, we need to get them to relive this experience. So like, we want to get them to relive it, get it back in their brain. Now you might ask, how do we do this? Well, the first question, what is it that you're wanting the tint for? Let's say they say privacy, right? Then you say something like, oh yeah, and we speak to like 5-10 people every single day wanting privacy. It's always different for different people though. What do you, I guess, experiencing that has you even looking for privacy? Okay, that's one way to ask it. Let's say they don't give you an answer. If you want another way to ask it, it's like, oh yeah, we speak to 5-10 people wanting it for the heat. It's very common. I don't want to assume, like, what are you actually experiencing that has you wanting it for the heat? Just so I can recommend the right option, because we have a few. All of this stuff is called justification. It gets them to kind of answer the question. Okay. Now, all of this stuff will give you the experience, right? And you'll be surprised. Like, people will actually tell you why they want it, what actually happened in the past that's caused them to actually call you now. Very, very important. And that is the first part of the sale. So let's say the first part is done. Second part, basic stuff, vehicle information. So it's year, make, and model. Obviously, you need this to give them an accurate quote. You can't do it without this. I would ask this like afterwards. So I always ask why tint first and then this stuff after. It's just how I do it, more comfortable. So, okay, yeah, what's the year, make, and model? You get it. And you can make a joke over here about the car. So you're one of the cool Audi guys, not one of the boring like BMW guys. For example, that's one thing you can do. I'm not funny, by the way. I assume, or I hope you're funnier than me. You can make some jokes, because when you crack a joke, it releases dopamine in their brain and they actually like you more. Like, it lowers their guard, and it sounds like foo-foo, but like, you will be surprised when you call someone and they're like just making you laugh. You're way more likely to buy with them or even just trust them more and actually listen to them. Very important, you can make a joke at this point with the year, make, and model. Second thing that you need to know is existing tint. Like, is there any tint on the vehicle right now? So existing tint is something you need to know. And this is all under vehicle information. Like, it doesn't really build the sale. That's why tint and pre-handling objections is the most important part. But this is stuff you have to know to get the quote. So these are the two things that, like, you don't need to, I don't need to tell you what questions or how to ask this. Just like, okay, I guess, like, is there any tint on the vehicle right now, for example? Now, existing tint is psychologically a very important thing to find out. I mean, it is important to find out. That's there's no doubt about that. But psychologically, let's say they got tint, which was bad and it's bubbling. Now, if you know there's existing tint and it's like bubbling, or it's like peeling, or it's like fading, whatever it is, now that person knows this is what happens when they get cheap tint. They might not have got cheap tint themselves. It might be an older car, but you want to be like, okay, is there any existing tint on it right now? Let's say the case that there is and it's bubbling. They'd be like, yeah, there's some tint right now. Okay, I guess since there is some tint, what even has you looking for more tint, or like for what even has you calling us since there's already some tint on there? They'll say something like, oh, it's bubbling, it's peeling, it's fading. Well, then you can ask, oh, so how long has it actually been on there? And they can say like 3 years. You're like, what, 3 years and it's already like bubbling? And what that does, it creates doubt psychologically in their mind that it should not be bubbling in 3 years, aka your tint will not bubble in 3 years. And then later on, when you're objection handling or whatever, and they say it's too expensive, well, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, there's always a cheaper option out there. But you've seen, literally, there's an example of your vehicle of what happens when you end up going with a cheaper option. And now you're having to pay actually more. So what's really more expensive? Paying more upfront to get something that lasts a lifetime, or paying less upfront, but you're ending up having to replace it, which costs more and then gets more film? What's really more expensive? That's something you can do. That's why existing tint, I love selling people when they have bad tint on there. It just makes it way, way easier. That's the second thing. So vehicle information. Now, the third thing is pre-handling objections. This is very important. The reason we want to pre-handle objections, what do I mean by pre-handle objections? When you get an objection after the price, so let's say you pitch 500 and then you get an objection, it is way harder to handle it at that point than when you handle it before the price. So just think about this. Pre-handling is whenever you handle an objection before the price. Handling an objection is whenever it comes after the price, let's say. Now, how do we actually pre-handle? Well, what's the biggest objection you guys get? 1, 2, 3, I'll give you 3 seconds. Price, shopping around. That is by far the biggest objection you get. It's not talk to my wife. That is an objection. It's not think about it. The biggest thing is I'm going to shop around. And by the way, if they say I'm going to think about it, they're most likely going to shop around. So the biggest objection they get is shopping around. Let's say this is around. We want to handle that before we get to the price. How do we do that? Well, we ask, okay, and before reaching out to us, John, were you out there looking for ways to kind of get this tint issue fixed and, get the privacy, I guess you wanted, or the heat rejection, whatever they said? Or I guess, what were you kind of doing? And now they will tell you what they have been doing. What they have been doing. And what this means is they will tell you, yes, I was looking around. Maybe they've spoken to shops. Maybe they're speaking to shops right now. Or no, I haven't looked. No, I haven't looked. This is important to handle because this could lead to a price objection. So it's like, in fact, not even a price objection, more like I don't need to do it objection. Like, it's not urgent. So if they say no, they haven't really looked. Okay, I guess what caused you not to in the past? And they'd be like, oh, I didn't have the time. Oh, it wasn't really priority. Whatever it is, you want to handle that over there. And for example, if they didn't have the time, okay, yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. I guess, what are your thoughts on that? Like, now, genuinely just curious about having the time. Okay, and they'd be like, oh, well, yeah, now I have the time. So we're kind of handling it before the price. And now after we give the price, they can't say, oh, I don't have the time, I'll do it later, whatever is the case. Like, time is very common, but I've heard it. That's why I'm giving you as an example. But the most important thing is, like, were you out there, looking? They're like, yes. Okay, now it could be two cases. So it could be yes in the past, like they looked in the past or they never did anything. It could be yes, like right now. So they're looking right now. So this is basically, they're actively telling you that they're price shopping over here. They're telling you that they looked in the past, but they didn't get it. If this is the case, if they looked in the past and didn't get it, you want to say, I guess, what caused you not to? So like, why did you actually not get it? Don't say why. It's really direct. Indirectly, you can say, okay, so what caused you not to in the past? And they can say, oh, well, it was too expensive. Oh, well, it wasn't a priority. I guess, yeah, and I appreciate you sharing that. What are your thoughts on that, like now, genuinely? Like, if it was too expensive, they'd be like, oh, I have more money to pay for it. Or like, oh, yeah, it's a priority now because of XYZ. If they're shopping around right now. So it's like, yeah, I'm speaking to a few shops. Oh, yeah, that's not uncommon. I guess, what are you hoping they'll say? So what are you hoping? I forget, I'm not going to type the whole thing. What are you hoping they'll say? And we want to find out what their decision making criteria is. And if it's price, we want to reframe them or educate them. So what are you hoping they say? Or like, let's say you speak to a few different shops. How would you decide at that point? Oh, well, I'm probably going to go with the cheapest person. If they say that, then we want to educate them. I won't talk about educating them in this video. The video is already very long. But if they say something like that, we have to educate them before we actually present the price and actually get them to commit to why like the cheaper price is not the solution before we present the price. It's going to be way easier to sell. um, if they say something like that's not price, then it's basically like sometimes they say, oh, like reviews. Then you want to say, I guess, based on who you've seen, like who has the best reviews. Like just ask them, call them out on whatever they're saying. Sometimes they might hide the answer. Most times it's price and best, like doing the best work for the best price. That's where you educate them. If you want me to tell you how to educate them, I can record another video on that. Just let me know in the comments. But if you also want the script, I can send it to you. But the pitch, very, very simple. Like super, oh my God, I'm not going to type anymore, but super, super simple. It's just as simple as, let's say you have two different options or three different options. You have two choices you can do. Either if you're very, very comfortable or very good at selling, you present your highest priced option because you can always downsell. So what this means is, let's say you have a $600 sides and rear ceramic, so $600. And they're like, oh yeah, so for you, the tint is, it's pretty simple to get it for the sides and back. Comes with a lifetime warranty, it cuts the glare, all of that good stuff. It's going to be 600. And really the next steps are just scheduling it. But I guess, how would you like to proceed? And then let's say they give you an objection. Think about it, whatever it is, there's ways to handle that and make them say that it's too expensive. Once they say it's too expensive, you can technically handle that. Or you can say, hey, that's not an issue. We do have an option that's at 400. It's just a little bit less heat rejection, but you're getting all of the other benefits. Would that work? Okay, let's say no. Then you can offer, like, let's say you have a $250 carbon, hypothetically. You still have basically 1, 2, 3 chances to make the sale. And don't be afraid of offering it 3 times. If they say no, it's totally fine. Like, you're literally helping them. You're working with their budget. You can say, hey, I don't want money to be the only thing stopping you from getting the tint. Like, we have an option for 250. It's not going to reject as much heat, but you're getting the privacy. It's a quality film. Like, would that help? And they're like, oh yeah, that would help. That works with my budget. You sold them. That's if you are good and comfortable at selling. If you're not good, which means you're bad, then I would just, let's say you have 2 options or 3 options. I would always keep it simple and present the cheapest price option. So let's say you have an option of 350 and 550. I would just present the 350, okay, and leave the 550. Don't even mention it, unless your 350 is a carbon and 550 is ceramic. Like, if your 350 is a dyed and it doesn't offer heat rejection, but at the start they've mentioned that they want the heat, then ethically you have to offer something with the heat. But let's say your 350 is a carbon and it offers some heat. So be like, yeah, so it really is going to be 350 to get X, Y, and Z. We can talk about next steps and scheduling, but how would you like to proceed? They'd be like, okay, fine. Once they have paid the deposit on this, it's easier to sell on a cheaper thing, obviously. Once they come in store, then you want to sell on the 550. And in store, by the way, you can close up to 50%, or sorry, not close, but upsell up to 50% of people. This is what I've seen from shops that I have personally spoken to. Very, very important. If you're not good, which I'm assuming a lot of people watching this are not as good as they want to be, then just offer the cheapest option, let them come in person and sell. And then last thing before I end the video, when you pitch, you always want to talk about like next steps. So for example, you want to say, so to actually get the tint you want, stop the privacy, stop the heat rejection, it's going to be 500. We're going to tint the sides and rear in this percentage. It's going to come with a lifetime warranty. So literally, once you get this with us, John, I guarantee you will never have to, let alone call another shop. You won't have to think about window tint ever again. you will love it for the rest of the time you have this car. And really, the next steps are scheduling. But how would you like to proceed? First of all, I had conviction. So I'm telling him this is literally the best option for him. I'm convicted in my service. There's no better option for him. That conviction transfers over to him. But secondly, I said that, really next steps are scheduling, but how would you like to proceed? The reason we do that is because we don't want it to be like a scenario where they're just like, thank you and hang up. Because what happens is if you say, and you might have seen this before, I used to notice this a lot when I did it this way, is like, it's going to be 500. And they're like, okay, thanks. And then you have and then they just hang up and there's nothing really, like, you're not in any position to say anything, right? That's why you want to talk about next steps, because then let's say they're like, okay, when can I get scheduled? You have them scheduled. You're not waiting for them to like ask, right? In this awkward position. But also, let's say they have an objection, then you can handle that objection, right? Because this gives them the platform to say, oh, it sounds great, but I'm going to shop around, I'll let you know. Or it sounds great, I'm going to think about it and let you know. Then you can actually handle that objection. Again, I can make another video on that, but the goal of this was just to show you the Tint, the whole Tint sales process. If you want more videos like this, or if you found this valuable, then just drop a comment below. Tell me what videos you like, and I can make more videos like that. In the description below, there's a link to, if you want us to help you with this and grow your shop faster. It's for those people. Again, you don't have to click it. It's just there for the people who want to grow their shop faster. There's a link. Again, doesn't matter if you click it or not, but like the video, subscribe, leave a comment, and I will see you in the next one.